Today on Homeworthy, we're exploring eclectic homes from all over the world that blend history, creativity, and personality. First, we'll tour a Milan home and studio where antique restoration meets modern design, with a focus on hosting and cooking. Next, we'll visit a vibrant Mallorca home filled with antique treasures and global influences. Then we'll explore a renovated Victorian farmhouse in New York, full of cozy nooks and stylish accents. Afterward, we'll head to a whimsical French countryside retreat, where eclectic art and details add charm to every corner. Finally, we'll step inside a 1917 Charleston home, where modern and traditional designs create a unique artistic space. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Roberto. Welcome to my house in Milan. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hello, I'm Roberto Gerosa, and welcome to my home and studio in Milan. I'm an architect. My education has been as an architect. I graduated then in history of architecture. Why? Because I like very much the old buildings. And this is my profession, is mainly the restoration of antiques or old buildings. I'm living in the studio house since 4 years. I bought it 5 years ago, and when I first saw it, it was still a carpenter. It was in use by the carpenters, and there were all the machines around, and I like very much the light of the space, and the rough spirit of working, of real work that I was feeling the minute I got in. That's why I did a very rough restoration in order to keep that atmosphere, and I like it very much. I'm very happy about. I am in a neighborhood which is expanded right now in Milan, and it's called Certosa area, and it's very young, very livable area, not much residential, but with a lot of studies and loft places like this. And then when we're gonna make a tour of the studio, you will see the main reason why I moved to this studio, since I like it also very much, my previous studio. But when I entered this place, I saw the working area, which is quite huge, and so I visualized that I could have put there all the material I use normally in my work, because I'm not only an architect and a restorer, but I also make objects by myself with my hands, mainly lamps. I would say that there is no decoration in this house. I know that I make you laugh, but everything is requested by the use. I used to choose things, antiques mainly, from the market, antique markets, or from my friend Monica Lupi, who is an antique dealer in Florence and who has the best collection of things. And but most of the things I've been collecting in the antique markets, where I go usually in southern France or in England or northern England. I'm walking into the main area of the living space, and I can see here one of my recent design, which is a couch called I dervisci. It's so called because it has the function of turning around, and so you can decide the better position you want. It's made out of suede in this case, but can be made in any kind of fabric. But it has bronze feet, which are casted, hand casted. And you can make different positions. So this is one of the most recent design. Instead, this is an old project going back to the 90s. And it's a project of an armchair, which with a simple movement become this. And it's a very fast movement, you can do it. So these are the lamps that I do by hand. I mold it by hand and weld here in the studio. And then I had them covered in different material. The idea is to always have a very warm light. Whatever is the material that I use. Can be parchment, real parchment, skin goat skin I mean, in different color. This is just finished. I finished this yesterday. It's a leaf made out of silk, or can be like my self-portrait, can be in fiberglass. Other materials are the alabaster, still a very warm light. Metals on top of the crown, on top of the Chinese bed, which gives a very warm reflection. And again silk, again fiberglass. This is my sitting room, and where I put some of my design, upholstery design. This couch is called Eclectica because it has been designed in the 90s for a particular store in Milan called Eclectica, and this is my best seller, I would say. This is another couch. It goes back to the 50s, and it has a very soft shape. Another thing that I like very much. Not to have straight corners, and I like soft materials, and which makes the sitting very comfortable. I'd like to show you these pillows I designed in the shape of half a moon, and they are very comfortable to sit down, to lie down, and to read also. My knee, I have a little knee, 5 years old, called Ines. And she's like her grandfather. She loves to party. So we did a party 2 weeks ago. And it was plenty with her friends, running around like crazy, all dirty with chocolates, but happy. The children like here because they feel strange. They feel freedom somehow. This is a nest. It's a Chinese 19th century bed. It's a real masterpiece. It's all made without any nail, and it's very comfortable. And it used to be the bed of the concubine. The Chinese bed belonging to my wife Camilla. She was keeping it in a country house. In her studio, she was a painter, and there she was taking a nap, relax during the day. It's a day bed for her. These parts are made on paper, and it used to be set for a theater. And they have a very particular, this is another one, but I like to show the back of it, because the back of it looks like a piece of art, a piece of contemporary art. You see? And they are approximately mid-19th century, made like 18th century decoration for a theater. I hang to the wall these 2 doors, glass doors, made in a red mirror. These doors were a gift by my carpenter He left them in a corner. He cannot use it anymore. And I say, what are they? And he say, oh, it's nothing. These are leftover. And I say, oh, wow, I love it. Give it to me. And he gave it to me. This is an armchair that I've been inspired from one that I've seen in the flea market in Paris. It's very comfortable. It's very good for taking a nap because you feel like to be in a nest. You can put your legs on top of it and you can put your head like this. It's very comfortable. And I had a discussion with my upholsterer man because I asked him not to put the flower at the center, and he was very disappointed because it said it took to me several years to learn how to feel things precise. But I say I don't like the symmetry, you know. I like to be lifted over, and it's composed with several fabrics mixed, like I like to do in different cases, with stripes and damask put together. My soul, I would say this is my soul. I'm a total transparent person, and I like beauty, and I like history. I like the things from the past. I like the very good quality things, and I wish I can show you, and I will, some things that I collect from the past, but I have here something in front of me. You see, these are a pair of scissors, and from a tailor, scissors, and this is inspired me a lot. The shape, you see those shapes are fantastic to me, and everything is functional because they must be used like this to cut the fabric, and so this is the soul of this space. Most of the things are what they look like and what they made for. I found few things when I arrived when the carpenter was still working here, a deposit, and he said to me, I'm gonna throw it away, everything away. And I say, no, leave it, I'm gonna do it. Because I've seen already that there were some nice door, some nice piece of marble, and I kept it and I would transform them. And out of a door, I make a table. Out of a piece of marble, it's a plan where I can do the pasta. And out of a couple of doors, I made doors. I will show you later. I'm moving into the dining room. I use a low table, lower than usual, because I like to sit on the armchair instead of on the chair when we stay around the table. It's more comfy, and most of the social evening is spent around the table. So I want my guests to feel very comfortable. And I use not to dress the table with a big tablecloth, but I like the set, which are made in very heavy linen. At this table, I can sit very comfortable, up to 12 people, but even more if shrink a little bit. The armchair are all. Some of them are gilded from the 19th century, and some are black, ebonized, and all made with different fabrics mixed to my feeling, and not used in the right way. Like one stripe is like this, the other stripe goes up, and my upholsterer man go crazy when I ask to do this kind of things. Also makes stripes with flowers. This console has been used to be a fireplace, and it has been designed by Mauro Mori, a renowned Italian artist and designer, and showing the best galleries in the world, even in New York. Also, these frames are made by him and are made with different kind of wood. Going to the past time, this window, it's a Napoleon III window where I keep all my ware, glass and plates and so. These green vases are from Empoli, which is a place in Tuscany where they used to work the glass mainly in this color, in this grain. About this lamp, I tell you a story. It didn't start as a lamp, it started like a cake. Because we were in our studio in Florence, Camilla, my wife, and I, and we decided to celebrate our wedding anniversary. And standing in the middle of the studio, the chandelier was lifted down, and we turned off the candles. Also, this column belonged to these things for decorating to make set on theater from the 18th, 19th century, and are all made in paper and painted, and with gold leaf on top of it. Another material I use sometimes to make my lamps is the mirror. In this case, you have the light inside, candles around, you can turn it on eventually, and so this is it. The idea is like the sconces, the Venetian sconces from the 18th century, where they used the mirror to double the light with the candles. I like very much the 18th century decoration, the pieces from the 18th century, but you can hardly live in a contemporary house with all the pieces from this time. So I like to, I would say that I like to mix very much the things. And I like very much the industrial things as well. Or I would say that I like to give a second life to industrial items, making out of poor industrial material things of beauty, giving to the material a second chance, I would say. We are in the kitchen, and this is a table I have made with a door I have found here when I came, and I use it as a bar. I cover with glasses in order to make it even, and I cover it all around with a net, a metal net, in order to hide a little bit the container of all the plates and pans I use to storage underneath. The kitchen is a well-known Italian company which made industrial things, very functional. And this is an old sink. I recuperate a double sink. Between all the ingredients and spices that I use for cooking, I'd like to show you my marmalade. It's a tangerine marmalade, very tasty, made with no sugar almost, very little sugar. And it's bio, tangerine coming from Sicily. They call them mandarini di ciaculli. In my kitchen I cook many recipes. My specialty for also when I have many people is the risotti. I do many kinds of risotto. One of the favorite is one with the artichokes and shrimps. But also I do it with red leaves salad from Treviso, called Trevigiana, and smoked cheese, or also with asparagus. In season with the asparagus is very tasty, the risotto. But I do also many kind of salad cakes with many vegetables, and a torta pasqualina. The Pasqualina cake, so-called, comes from Liguria, where I was born, and it's made out of ricotta and green veg, and it's a very tasty, and with boiled eggs also, called torta pasqualina. Last year I found a new recipe for a chocolate cake, and everybody likes it very much. It's made with two ingredients, pois, pears, and very dark chocolate, almost 70% dark chocolate, and that's it. Just the two ingredients. You melt them. You melt the chocolate. You mix it with the pears, and it becomes very tasty and almost diet cake. On this wall, there are the works of my daughters, my two daughters, Angelica, who does collage, and Alice, who does photography, and my wife Camila, who does paintings. Here you have all my books, my private books, the one that I love to be surrounded by, and a lamp in parchment, in two-color parchment. The curtains are in silk, taffeta, and the sheet bed are at this my R design. This sconce is made out of silk, and with this, which is a changing image, it depends from your position. When you move, it changes. These are very cheap things that are sold by people on the streets. But now it's becoming famous, this kind of work. Some artists are using it. It's an old technique. It's a double picture. This is my private bathroom, and I use all this gypsum, part of decoration of the walls. I put them together, and the shower is made out of industrial glass with iron, reinforced glass, which I had mirrored in the back. The sink is a particular marble which I found here when I got the place. It was a leftover of the carpenter. To hold the soap, I had a shell from the South Sea. The floor of the bathroom and in my bedroom, it's made out of tiles, colored concrete tiles, called cementine, which were very used in all the 19th century, so up to now. In the bathroom, I also cover it with resin in order to make it waterproof and soft to the touch. I like very much also my previous house, but this is really exactly what I need now. Because it's with a good oil, I can see everything at a glance, and so I can see space. I have high ceilings, and that's I like very much, and you will see later. But my social parts, like the sitting room and the dining table, the guest room, it's all made to make people comfortable when they come. And people love to come here, I must confess. Also because I'm a very good cooker. That they want to go back, or that I should make the pub dinner for invite people that I don't know, even to make a dinner. And this is quite good because maybe it can become a business. We are entering now the guest room, where you see I collect the photos of my friends and also from other photographers. And on this wall there is all the work of my wife, Camilla D'Afflitto. These are made on ardesia, which is slate, a stone, kind of stone. Those pillows are made by a tailor, a Florentine tailor, who is very refined in the details. They're obviously all sewn, and you see, like the automatics are all covered with fabrics. All these parts are sewn. Buttons are in mother of pearl. This is a guest bathroom. It has two tubs. One is a shower, and it's a zinc metal. The other one is a traditional cast iron enameled tub. These doors are antiques, and they come from a Venetian palace, and I saved from the demolition, and they used to be a sliding door, but now the way I put them are fixed. The structure around the zinc tub, the shower, it's in iron, and it has been painted with the blue Klein color. And on top of it, it has feathers. This is the only wall in all the apartment, in all the house, that has been decorated. And it has been painted in stripes, light blue and white stripes. This area is the studio part of the house where I work. Plus I have these drawers where I keep my drawings, large size. I used to have large size drawings, and some of the lamps that I've done recently. And I like you to notice the pulley which I kept from the past function of the space. This was used to lift it up from the cave, the glass slabs, and the very heavy stuff. Okay, we enter right away in the place where I work. I sit on this desk to work at the computer, and sometimes I have an assistant coming over to help me, and so this is a place where everything starts from. But in the back you have the real drawing table, because I still draw by hand, and so I used to make my project in this on this table, drawing by hand mainly, as I was saying, doing perspectives and axonometries, but also plans on size. I like you to notice my glass window, which has been made with different kind of glasses, which I recuperate from the past. I'm surrounded by things that help me for work, like pencil, everything I need when I draw, and catalogs of furniture, of materials that I'm going to use in my projects. And all over I'm surrounded by my lamps. You can see them around, and on my desk table you have this made out with fabrics, and on top there is one made with paper, and all the different kind of lamps that I have. I used to make these lamps by hand, and are made with different materials, but the concept is to have a very warm light all the time. So whatever is can be silk, can be parchment, can be silk again, or can be this is again silk in these old Chinese lanterns. These are peculiar things. I just bought it. They come from China, and these are foldable lamps. They were used for travel. I only put the lighting this. You can see, you can hold them up and keep it away. And this is a particular object. The moment I saw it, I loved it. And I said, this is mine, because it represents very much my taste. I've done a restoration of the floor, because since we are ground floor, I wanted to be isolated from the humidity. So I dig 1 meter down the soil, and then cover it again after the ventilation modems. But I left a hole in this part in order to grow up a plant directly from the ground. And I planted this, which is a sterlitzia. I don't know the name in American. In Italian we call it sterlitzia. I'd like to show you this armchair, a Queen Anne period British armchair, which has these particular things. You take your pillow off, and it becomes stairs for the library in leather and wood. This is quite a particular piece. I like very much the furniture that has plus than one option. The inspiration to me comes from history, and that means museum, books, broadcasting, whatever I can see from the past. But also, great inspiration for me are my the artisan I work with, because most of my interior design is made on, is customized, and by very good artisan. And this is inspiring me very much, because I learn from them the techniques, the way to do the things, and so together with the history are the best inspirers. This still part of the working areas where I keep all my fabrics, which are a very inspiration for me. I collect them from all over the world in my travels, and I bring in here and I play with them, like the one you can see there when I make a proposal of different fabric. I have them a selection, you know, silk. This is a Vietnamese fabric. This is a very classy Italian Baroque thing from different brand, Italian and foreigners. And I put them together and I make a board of suggestion for my client. This is one of the last lamp I've done. It's made out of with the ribbon, and it also come as a sconce on the next wall. Another material I like to use for making lamps is the solid brass, and solid brass gives again a very warm light, which you can see this very much during the night because you have an explosion of gold on the ceiling. On top of the shelves, I have a lamp, which is a particular lamp. It's made in the shape of a lyra, like a musical instrument, and sometimes I do a different shape, which are not exactly lamp shade, but just shape. I was going to show you more of these. On this part, you can see all my ribbon that I use to finish the lamps, like fringes, borders. Most of these are old and cannot be reproduced, some of them, because it would take a lot of work. One particular thing is that the cotton that was used was less shining. It's more rough, and it has this particular light reflection. It's not glossy. Let me take you now down to my work area, my workshop. In my workshop, I keep all the collection of the things that I use during my restorations. I have all the sample of glasses, marbles, plus all those items in copper, brass, and silver that I have manufactured in Florence by an artisan, and they are all cast by hand. These are handles and finishing for curtains or to hang stuff to the wall, and any kind of handles, as you can see. In my workshop, besides that I collect all the things that I might transform later on in items to sell. I have all the material to work, and usually I have people coming over to do finishing or helping me doing things. The main activity is, though, I shape here my lamps, which I made with a copper wire. I molded it and make it in shape, and then I weld it, and I make all different shape Like this is a sconce, this is a lampshade, another sconce, another lampshade. So here we do all the work. Here I'm completing this lamp. I'm just finishing the electric wiring, and later on I'm going to cover with paper, a particular marbleized paper, which gives again a very soft light. This sconce instead is going to be covered with the parchment, the goat skin, which has a very soft translucency, you see. Here is an old sconce in iron, finished with the gold leafing, and now has to be restored because it has almost lost all the shining. So it has to be clean, deeply clean. And I collect old things that eventually can be changed, restored, put together with other elements. Plus here I have extra fabrics and all my collection of trimming, borders, and all these come from, all these are antiques, and I get it in markets. I like to collect them. I'm a maniac, I must say, about this. And also because the quality that they used to make, it cannot be repeated from new. It is the material which is different. The original material, the cotton, is different. Home definitely means feel comfortable. Like at night when I go to bed, I lie down on my very comfy mattress. When I lie down, and I used to say, oh, such a beautiful things here to be lying down. So this means home to be comfortable in your space, to be surrounded by the things that you love, surrounded by the things that you love to see, and making happy people when they come to visit you or to stay with you. This is home to me. It has been a great pleasure to share my space with you today. I hope to see you soon. Ciao!
Hello, I'm Amanda.
Hello.
This is Liberty and Olive. Welcome to our home in Dea.
Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and we're now offering a membership plan that gives our supporters early and exclusive access to new videos.
Hi, Homeworthy.
I'm Roz.
You're here at my home in Los Angeles?
Come on in. I can't wait to show you around.
With this membership, we invite you to open more doors, discovering new homes, rooms, and personalities available only to those with the keys to our guest house. You'll be part of a community of people who are just as passionate as you are about interior design. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name's Amanda Pickett and I'm a decorator here in Mallorca. This is my house in Dea. We've been here for 2 years now, and we were looking for somewhere that had a space for a studio and that had character, and we found this place. It's absolutely lovely. It's got 3 stories and a little terrace on the top, which is really magical. We can see the sea, and everything about it's old and quirky, and we love it so much. It's oozing character, which is always what we like In the 17th century or even earlier, there was no roads coming here. Basically took a long time to get here, so mostly they came by boat and came up, and there was fishermen living here, and a lot of these old cottages are from the early days then, before roads. I'm the daughter of antique restorers, and I'm constantly surrounded by antiques, and it's my life and the way I live. So we've brought in a lot of things from Scotland and from around the world that necessarily you might not find here, but also a lot of it's come from here. So we make fabric that's made on the island, and we have more things. A lot of people in Mallorca tend to be a bit minimalist, and we're more maximalist, and we're more niche, you know, we're very niche with what we do. You know, not everybody quite probably likes it or gets it, but it's more refreshing to have something different, or everybody with something a little bit different, but definitely recognizable as being Pickett's house. Nothing is perfect, everything's a little bit damaged. I think that's because my parents were restorers and everything was perfect for them. For me, I like a little bit of faded grandeur, or I like something that's not quite perfect, or the outside isn't upholstered and you know, it's just thrown together. It seems it's evolved. It's like you've been around the world and brought something from everywhere. So this is the living room. This is basically where we chill out and sit around and watch movies and things like that, and it's full of quirky pieces. This is an old basket that we got from the market here in Mallorca, which happens every Sunday, which we love. And we have the day bed, which is French, and it's absolutely, you know, the best piece of furniture just for relaxing. Everybody fits on. We're a big family, so it's really a great space, and rather than a sofa, because we are limited, it's quite a small proportioned property, so it's quite nooks and crannies, and everything is got to work, because there's no space for anything that doesn't work. And we have, this is the picket stripe that we're developed and that we've designed and remade. Basically, it's an old, really old pattern, which is made on the island. It's a French bed, and I guess once upon a time there would have been two the same. And we found it, and the guy that had it said, nobody has looked at that for 20 years, and you're the first person. So it was a real joy for us. It's a real statement place to have it. As soon as you come in, we lie here and watch the people come and go and walk down and walk past, and you just listen to the sounds of people walking. It's really relaxing place to be. The canopy is probably from a church. I think that the carving suggests that it's from a church, and it's nothing to do with the bed itself, but looks perfect up there with the stripe. And the coffee table is a Chinese style. It's great with the cloud detail. I always like Oriental style mixed with European. And this is a Spanish elephant, which is more like some of the English ones, but much nicer to be this kind of buff yellow. These are all firing cracks that happened when they fired it. So it's not broken at all, but it does have the cracks, which I like. And this is an Irish mirror that we brought from the UK that we've had for a long time, that I really love them. And I mean, lots of people would restore the whole thing and have all the cabochons restored, but for me, I quite like the fact that it's imperfect. And a little hat that belonged to my children, but it's come from Tibet, and it's to ward off evil spirits. So it's all children had little hats like this, and it would have had a tail at some point, which is lost, sadly. But it's a family heirloom, something I really love. So we have a pair of these, and they're actually Irish stools. We covered them in the picket stripe, which is just a little bit fun. And they're stamped with the maker's mark and everything underneath. This is not an original barber's pole, but basically that's what it is. It's a bit of our Oliver Twist side. I believe that things should be, everything the same to me can be a little bit boring. I mean, sometimes when you have an antique, finding the same thing is absolutely impossible. And I've tried it before when I've sold something and I felt, oh no, it's gone. And then you try to find something similar, but it's absolutely impossible. So we like everything to be a little bit, everything's unique. Nothing is, you know, mass made. And this mirror is, I'm kind of not quite sure if it's Flemish or if it's Spanish, but it's got elements of Regency and the claw feet, which is a nice touch. And then we have the French sofa that I'm also not sure if it's English or French, but it's certainly French style. But I did buy it in England, and the casters make me think that it's probably an English sofa. Myself and my daughter, we painted these basically because we wanted to lift the ceiling because of the beams. Everything seems to be quite low with the ceilings, and this painting of the leaves really helped lift the height, other than painting the beams, which is sort of kind of sacrilege to paint the beams, or some people might think so. So we kept it traditional Spanish, but with the painted little bits and bobs here and there. The beams, mostly the beams are original, but some of them have been replaced over time. But it's really Spanish to have the wood exposed rather than painted, which is much more English or American to have painted beams, which I like, but we chose to keep the beams. And the lanterns are Mallorquin. They make lots of lanterns here. So you find the star ones like you would find in Morocco, but they made them here. So that's quite nice. There's a lot of lanterns. The bird cages are something that my daughter wanted to hang. And she helps me a lot, and she does things that I wouldn't do. She does things that are sort of a little bit more trendy or fun in her eyes. So I quite like that. This painted cupboard, I don't really know where it comes from. I'm not quite sure about the origin. It's possibly Bavarian or it's maybe French. But we got it from a friend of ours, and that happens quite a lot, that people say, can you take some of, do you want this? You know, do you want my old stuff? And I always, if it's something like this, you know, I really love things like that. So the doors are really traditional Mallorquin doors. Most houses have them. We really love the shape, and we just wanted to make this awning, which is really rustic and brightens the whole place up when you enter, and also keeps the sun off the doorstep. I've basically, since I was about 8 years old, I've been selling antiques in my mum and dad's shop. They had a shop, and I would take things there and put them on the shelf, and then some of the antique dealers would buy things from me. So I guess it was inside, and I also used to draw antique furniture from the books, and at, you know, 10, 11, and it's quite a strange obsession, and that's probably deeply inherent in me, that I need to be around these things. And sometimes when I haven't managed to go and buy things, I feel it, you know, it's a real part of the way I am as a human being. Pickett's house was on the main street in Dea, and it was a beautiful, lovely place to have a store. It was an antique store, but I found that it was something that I didn't really need to have and be there every day. It was much more productive to have somewhere for the family as well, where my children can be safe and I can work in my studio. So we decided to come down here into a quiet part of the village where we can be safe. The children and the dogs are here, and we work and eat and live all in the same place. So it really works for us as a family to be on site. Follow me, and I'll take you through to the fire snug area. So this is really, really traditional Mallorquin to have this little area that everybody sits here in the winter and sits around the fire, and it's like, it's just the coziest place to be, but really intimate and really lovely. So this is, we have to watch our heads because it's very low. Everybody's got to be small. And then we did this scalloping with the leather just to take away, I mean, it's with the shells and everything, just to sort of keep it fisherman cottage, and this to hide the brown, because you don't want to paint all brown bits and bobs and wood. I've got a thing for these deity figures, these little guys that they're, you know, probably 15th century, you know, they're Ming and that sort of era. And I've just had a lot over the past, 20 years. And they're always something I find I get really attached to. They all have their little characters, and they were originally made by the family, and they're the ancestors of the family, and they would put their prayers in the back of them, and they have a little thing to put the prayers in the back. So I really love them. Some Chinese porcelain, which I love as well, and bits and bobs, things like this mammoth tooth, which is such a, to me, it's astounding. I don't even understand how that is actually a tooth, but that's a crazy thing. I love shells, and Chinese porcelain is a thing that I really love, and we don't see so much of it here, but we get lots in Scotland, so anytime I go back I bring something back. I bought this, and it's one of the nicest curtains I've ever bought, which is really old, really thin chintz. It's probably French, and it's all sort of hand printed. I couldn't actually believe my eyes when I bought this, because I thought that it was such a bargain, and I thought it must be modern, but I couldn't believe that it's actually not, and it's, you know, it's beautifully aged and it's in really good condition. And these are just simple stripe curtains that we just made just to fit the space. This, I believe, is English, although I bought it here, which is a really lovely piece of treen, as they call it. And it's a little stand or a miniature of a table. And they probably used to go around with these and say, this is how we can make a table. And then people would commission a table to be made like that. So I love that. The old boots that were a gift from my mum, she used to have them in her house. And then another deity figure. And the Howard and Sons wingback, which is another Isle of Wight thing, is covered in the replica Howard and Sons ticking. This is a Spanish lantern made from zinc, absolutely really heavy and stamped. It's Barcelona, probably around the Gaudi time. It's one of my most Spanish things that I actually have, which we really love. And at night time, it lets out the light, makes these patterns on the wall, which is really lovely. This is another thing that I got from my mother, and it's the most amazing cutout felt work with silk threads, 18th century, beautiful, amazing workmanship, so in-depth detail. Every single piece has been cut out and sewed on. It's not even, you know, applique, it's a much finer workmanship. Everything we have changes places. So this used to be on the wall, and it's like, it kind of hangs like a tapestry or something, you know, you could throw it on a bed. I've had it on beds before, but it's much too fragile to actually let people sleep with it. This Ottoman silk costume, which is reputed to be from Osborne House in the Isle of Wight, so which I absolutely adore. We did the doors for fun. It's not probably something I would do in anybody else's house. It was just that I felt like it really worked here. But it's not perfect by any shape or form, but it's really, it adds a little bit of happiness in the morning when you come down. I absolutely throw everything together. It's something that evolves things actually speak to each other, and then you didn't realize until you move them. And sometimes I'll move things, and then to everybody's disappointment, I'll say, let's move everything back and put it how it was. And everyone's like, really? We've just moved everything and now you want to put it back how it was? So you never know until you start playing around with things and moving things. Sometimes I'll even declutter, which some people might not realize, but a lot of times I put things away that might not, you know, and I sometimes do think, oh, it's too much. But everything seems to work together and they all speak to each other, and it's fun. So, welcome to the Scottish room. We call it the Scottish room because of this bed, which we brought from Scotland, which was one of our first beds that we ever bought in Scotland, in St Andrews, in an auction. And it's gone everywhere with us. It's absolutely part of our family now, with the original silk headboard, which for me, you know, some people might change it because it's got a little bit old, but because it's the original silk, I don't want to change it. And these are batik cushions, which I used to have so many, but now it's just these two. I love batik, blue, indigo. This is a little meditation chair. It folds up and you can carry it around. I think that's the point, you know. So if you take the base and then it tucks into itself, so it's basically just a panel, and then they carry it around and meditate. That's the idea, which it looks really great with books on it or anything. This is a very English Ottoman stool, which has a little bit of storage inside, which, I mean, they're so typical and traditional in the UK that I love them. They're so handy. And this is an oriental lacquered screen, which is vintage. It's a little bit more vintage than I usually go for, much more antique, but I do love this and the colours it brings into the room. And this is a Scottish hall chair, also an early purchase of mine. And scumbled, which is super traditional Scottish. And then these console tables, which are based on Chinese export stands. I made them instead of bedside cabinets so that they have a position. This is a bucket that we brought from Scotland that we've had for a long time. It's not from Scotland, it's probably Ethiopian, and it's a rice level, and they would level off, but ceremonial, and it's made from one piece of wood which was dug out, and somehow it would hang, and then they would scoop the rice and level it out. And the base is bronze and it's chased, which is a really, you know, must have been a very special bucket to have this detail. So this is a Balinese hat that we just used because some of the light switches and light positioning is maybe not where you would put it, but so we did that just to make a decorative touch. So they're original tiles that lots of places had them, really traditional, but we love them. So this house, every room is on a different level, every level is a different room, you know, so basically nothing really is on the same level other than the living room and the fireplace area. Everything else is staggered. So now I'll show you upstairs to the next level. So this is the Moorish room that we call, with the twin room. This is Mallorquin silk linen mix that a guy in Palma, his father, he had a business and he made it, and then the son took over and made fabric. This canopy came from a house in Dea, another house of a friend, and she thought it was for putting out the windows when there was fiestas. And I thought, no, it really is a bed canopy. And then we put it up and it just looks so fun. It's kind of floating, but I love the edges, and it sort of puts me in mind of Venice or something, you know, it's like a gondola or something. And then we have, this is probably why the reason the room, we call it the Moorish room, is because of this lady dressed up in the Moorish clothes. We have this old fabric that I really love that I made into these lampshades. They're another thing that's perfect but not perfect. So we have these twin beds. We made twin headboards out of the local fabric. A little bit of gingham again, which I really love, but just makes me feel it's so provincial and homely. And then these cushions that were made from typical traditional Mallorquin skirts. And this was the base of the skirt, and we made them into cushions because I just loved the fabric. But the skirt wasn't practical anymore. I made the lamps to sort of go with the style, and it's a little bit Regency style, and the lampshades I also made. We did this with the wardrobe to, for me, anything old wood now sort of can be a bit of a sucker of light, so we did this just to be a bit of fun, to hide it. This is one of my favourite things. This is a decoupage trunk, which is in the George II style. It's English, but just so faded and imperfect. I absolutely love this style of furniture. These chairs are from England, and they've been this one's been repainted, and the other one hasn't been repainted. But I just love the red, the splash of red, and this one's much more aged and more original. These floors again are original, and they have a board, you know, they're really something really special. It's been thought about. This room is crazy as well because it has a big bow in the room. So where the bed is, you can't notice it now, but with age, it's moved, and there is a shape to the floor. This is Gilbert. He's going to come upstairs to the studio. Come on then, Gilbert. Come on. Gilbert. So this is where I work. This is where you'll find me. I'm here. I have like so many fabrics. It's unbelievable. Sometimes I have to tidy them away and start again, but then it piles up. Again, we have the Mallorquin tiles, which I really love these ones. They're really sweet. This is my desk. This is a box. This is the most important thing that I probably own, which is a jewellery box, and it's bulwark, probably by a really famous guy that the work is named after, and he's called Andreas Charles Bull, and he was prolific in France. And this is all ormolu mounted, really special, and the size, you know, it's such a big box. And then we have the Declomania lamp, which I still have to wire. I have to get Gary to wire it up, but soon I will do that. And this is a bed, a Mallorquin bed, which is amazing still to see it with all the original paintwork still really intact, which is lovely, and I really love it. These are some artworks. There's a pair, and this one, they're by my friend Magnus Reid, who's an Australian artist. Mirrors are something that I absolutely love. I might have too many, so I don't really know where I put them. I just have them, and eventually they have been put, you know, they've been in the living room, they've been in other bedrooms, and now they're here. So, and then eventually I'll find somewhere else to put them. But this is a really special one that came from a major, and he was called Major Tiger, and he had this, and it came from the sale of the contents of his house, and I really love it. I have millions of different bits of fabric that I've collected over the years. This is just some, this is hardly any of it. And we have bits of this Laura Ashley edging that I had a whole roll of it, but I've used it on projects, and I really love the Greek key. Some silks that are made on the island, some venison fabrics left over from projects, some amazing Mallorquin fabrics that they used to make in Sawyer in the 19th century. So we have this oriental screen, which is Chinese export, probably for the English market, although it has an African theme. But the lions are, every stitch is silk, and he is the man, and here's the female. And the two panels, sadly, the other two panels were so badly distressed that this was the only surviving pieces. But I love the character and everything about it. It's also been hung in many different rooms. And he's, because I'm a Leo, we're both, me and Gary, my husband, we're both Leos. So we're the lions. So that's why we've never sold it. I love it so much. And this is more silk that comes from the island, which is from Bahosa. And it's really thick, lovely silk. And then the stripe, which is Swedish stripe. And the yellow and blue, I just love. It's a bit of fun. And this lantern has come from Morocco, as I mentioned before. This is basically where me and Gary sleep when we're here. And it's mostly for chilling out, or if we've gone out and friends come and stay here, they'll stay here. And we have this, which is a big canopy, which is totally made from indigo linen. Lots of people think, oh, I'd love to use that fabric and cut it up. But I could never do that. It's very reminiscent of Japanese, although it's Mallorquin. So, welcome. This is the little area where the kids have decided to paint on the walls, and it's a real family sharing zone, where we have this ottoman with the antique linen and the bahosa from Mallorca. We painted decoration again because it's such a small space. It really invited something else to decorate it. We couldn't use too much furniture or fabric. And then we did these little curtains, which I love, keep the insects out in the summer, and they're just really fun. And then if you come out here, we have the roof terrace, which is one of my favorite parts of the house. This is where we chill out most of the time. We have the view of the church and the mountains, and my good friend lives up there on the mountain, so that makes me happy every day I come out here. I imagine him probably seeing me down here. This textile's from Iran, it's block print, and I just love everything about these block prints. This is not that old. Sometimes we have old ones. And this little table with the elephants. Sadly, he's lost some of his tusks. There's 3 elephants on it. But I love that. And then the old olive pot, which is probably around about 300 years old. It doesn't stand up, it's lying down. But I like that it lies down, it's fun. And then we got these chairs, which are so practical because you can move them anywhere, you know. It's just really nice spot to have a sit down and a glass of wine. So we have 2 of these benches. They're hall benches, and I really love the style of the sort of, it's quite churchy, but it's kind of Tudor England style. I really like them, but they're just practical for people to sit here because we don't have a lot of space for 2 sun loungers. So we come up here and some people sit and some people lie, or lucky person gets to lie down. So at night time, here's the church in Dea, and that will be lit up in the evening. It's really lovely. We hear the bells and all the hustle. If anybody's up there near the church, you can hear them. It's really like an eardrum in Dea. You hear voices and laughter. It's really a lovely place to sit. And then we come over here where we have our own window to the sea. And I like to imagine that the family of the fishermen would wait here for their the boats to come home. In Mallorca, they used to have these things on beds, and we would have full-sized ones of these, and they're basically mosquito nets. And this is not the original length. It would have went down probably 2 meters, and it would be a mosquito net. And I found about 10 of them in my time living here, but I sadly can't find any more. And being an antique dealer, I always sold them, and this is one of the only. I have a couple of other ones that are slightly different, but this is the only one I have left that's like this. So we come up here with our coffees and our lunch. The children will come up and paint pictures, and we'll sit around. Sometimes we'll play some music and enjoy the outside atmosphere. Dea's got a real American English influence from back in the 60s and the 70s. A real artist sort of town with lots of hippies. Everybody swears by going to the sea every day and swimming in the water and then coming back up, and the buzz of the village is, I mean, I think it's changed a lot, but it's an absolutely lovely place to come and visit. Lots of old stories, and people know all the stories of all the people that lived here before. Lots of old musicians and artists and bohemians, really. I'm going to show you our kitchen from outside. This is how we come in. This is where our washing machine and everything is in here, which is super handy not to have it in the kitchen. And then we go in here, and it's so small and underground. It's so atmospheric in here. It's not your average kitchen. And we have these kind of ornaments and these paintings by Magnus Reed again. I absolutely love them. This old clock that somebody had thrown away. This is our friend, and I've moved it up here because everybody used to walk into the fist. And so I put it up high. It's definitely not a kitchen thing, but I love it. It's probably came from a church and it's an angel, but for me it's much more sculptural and really well carved, so I really like it. So these are chairs that I brought from the UK. They're old friends, as we say, but I really love them. Each piece has been carved to be that shape, to simulate bamboo, and they're 18th century. Really nice. There's a set of 4. One is upstairs at the moment, but there's 4. And this one is a Scottish one, which goes very well. There's 2 of those. And this chair is Mallorquin and very wonky, but I love it. Absolutely love chairs. I love this chair. So artistic, sort of, I don't know, there's something nice about it, but very wonky, so I wouldn't sit on it if I was you. We've done Halloween parties and birthday parties for our friends, and everybody gathers outside on the street, which is really quirky. It's a Dea thing, and everybody sits on the street, which is, they never want to sit inside. Nobody ever wants to sit inside, which is a really Dea style thing. I think a house becomes a home when you start to introduce your things that you love. For me, my antique furniture that we've brought from everywhere really makes it a home. Things that we're attached to that we've brought from Scotland. We've got things that we've brought from England, things from Morocco, from our holidays when we were younger, and we used to go to Morocco and come back with boxes full of stuff. It's just a love for your things, and that makes it home.
Today on Homeworthy, we're taking you to Bellport, New York for a look inside interior designer Chris Benz's gorgeous Victorian shingled home and grounds. Chris has masterfully transformed each space, working with the home's original layout to create cozy, inviting nooks. With a background as a designer for J. Crew, Chris brings the same layered and effortless sensibility to his home design as he does to fashion, adding cool accessories that make each room uniquely his own. He takes us outside to introduce us to his chickens before giving us a tour of his beautifully restored gardens. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. By clicking the join button below, you not only support the production of these videos, you also gain access to exclusive content just for members, including an inside look today into Chris's collected guest cottage that is filled with fabulous treasures. Join today to see more of the homes you love.
Hey Homeworthy! Welcome to my farmhouse in Bellport, New York. I'm Chris Benz. I can't wait to show you around. Come on in. Hey everyone, I'm Chris Benz. Welcome to my home in Brookhaven Hamlet, New York. We're here in my entryway. It is a Victorian farmhouse that I've spent about the past 5 years renovating, and you'll get to see pretty much every single room as we do a little walk and talk, some of my favorite pieces from each room, and talk about the journey of picking colors, shopping for furniture, and the renovation process over many years of collecting and picking all of my favorite pieces. So when I first arrived at this house, you can imagine it probably did not look like this, and you would be right. It was a total 80s renovation, drop ceilings, hi-hat lights. I had to back out of so many things, and my process was really about figuring out what the house should look like and probably what it did look like in the late 1800s and early 1900s when it was first built. So I had always dreamt of having a weekend house, as so many people who live in Manhattan and in the city always do. After many years, you're like, oh my gosh, I have to get out of the city on the weekends. I just can't take it anymore. So I would spend hours and hours looking for old houses. I looked everywhere. I looked upstate, I looked in Long Island, of course, and I drove everywhere and looked at so many houses. I looked at stone houses in Woodstock. I looked, all the way. I was like, oh my God, I found an amazing house in Albany. And people were like, you're not driving to Albany on the weekends. Like, you are crazy. But I ended up finding this house that had really fallen into a little bit of disrepair. It has amazing gardens, but when I first arrived, they had really kind of become overgrown, and the hedges, had grown many feet beyond what they should have been and were falling over, and it sort of languished on the market. But I was up for the challenge, so you'll see what we did. So part of my job as a decorator is to find a balance between what people love, push them into new uncharted territory, and find a balance of what is exciting, what's comfortable, and create harmony in every space. So oftentimes when you have to do it for yourself, and particularly for myself, it's constantly changing, and it's even more difficult because I love so many different things. But in this house, come to find out, it was originally built as a boarding house. So a lot of the rooms didn't really speak to sort of the original use that would become, or that would be obvious when you go into an ordinary house. This is a dining room, this is a living room, this is the grand entry hall that you're supposed to be impressing the neighbors with when you have them over for, a Christmas party. There was a lot of unusual spaces. So we're in the entryway right now, which is actually really small for a house of this scale. And when you think about the original use of the house, it was rental, small bedrooms upstairs, and then sort of larger common spaces downstairs. And it was for people who were on their way eastward, sailors, whalers. The trains had just made their way eastward on Long Island at the end of the 19th century, and it was a place for people to literally stay overnight, get a hot meal, play cards, and then be on their way. So in this little entryway, I kind of just made it feel cozy and welcoming. And one of the things that I used as kind of a roadmap for the color story are these original early 20th century maps of the neighborhood. So I have the town of Brookhaven, a neighborhood map of our little part of Bellport of Suffolk County, and then part of Brookhaven down here. But as you can see, if you look closely, kind of the trim color and the wall color all pull from kind of the faded and patina of these original antique maps, which I think is a really good trick when you're picking palettes for old houses, is find something old that you love and build the palette off of that that one item. It'll feel authentic and really special. So something that's followed me for a while that I have in my collection is this Ernest Trova marble sculpture. It is very unwieldy to move, and it is from the mid 20th century. He was a sculptor. He actually designed the CFDA award. And he did a few of these large-scale sculptures. I've moved it a couple times. I hope to never move it again. And now it lives here. So it scares people away from the front door, which I love. And I love that it feels kind of modern and idiosyncratic in this kind of old house. And I love the idea always of adding like one element that feels unexpected. Oftentimes in an old house, when you start to add antiques and layers and old things, it goes into that territory of feeling very traditional, and you always need something to kind of pull it out of that. And you know, something bold like this really does that exact thing and helps it feel kind of the tension that's necessary. So one of the things that was very important to me in renovating was keeping as much of the original trim and detail as possible and the spirit of the house. I am not sentimental about painting original details, but I am very into keeping the original details in terms of the spirit of them. So all the original pocket doors were intact, which was amazing. Thinking about the idea that this was a sort of functioning, sort of hotel type structure where they would be able to kind of close off and partition different rooms was really interesting. And I loved the functionality of that, and kind of maintaining that felt really important. And again, I loved the idea of painting everything in a way that felt modern, but keeping all the detail feeling very traditional. So this is Mushu. He's my 1-year-old Chow Chow, the star of the house. He'll be popping in and out as we go for the tour. So off the entryway, we have the front living room. Let's take a look. So here we are in the front living room of my house. This was probably the common area of the boarding house, and I really wanted to keep it feeling like sunny and bright and casual. I definitely did not want anything feeling formal or fussy in this room. One of the things that I learned when I started to decorate the room was that everything was shrunken down. All of the spaces between the windows, between the door and the wall, everything was small. So I actually couldn't use a lot of modern furniture because it was simply too big. And that was good for a couple of reasons. It was cost effective because I could really only buy vintage furniture and antique furniture at auction, auction sites, and vintage stores and flea markets, which was super fun. And also it enabled me to kind of mix and match and pull from a bunch of different periods. I basically committed to this corner being my base camp during COVID and lived my Victorian lifestyle with a little drop front East Lake desk, and probably lived a parallel life with someone who did the same thing 100 years ago in this corner, which I thought was sort of funny. One of the things that we did in renovating this room was lift the ceiling. All of the ceilings were dropped and had really big can lights from the 80s, which I'm sure kept it very bright. 40 years ago. But I really wanted it to feel authentic and true to the time period of the house. So one of the beams that you see existed structurally, one did not. So we added a matching beam and then added all of the beadboard to the ceilings so that we created this sort of balance in the room. And then replicated all of the original crown molding. So it sort of gave the feeling of this little bit of, detail and craftsmanship that was missing in such a big, bright front room. And then in committing to the sort of, airiness, I had this gigantic sisal rug made, and then really wanted to commit to this, the airy kind of casual feel. So everything has a hand woven, sort of tassely, tattered feel. The muslin chairs that are sort of undone, and, the little bit of a raw feeling on the rug and the pillows, the mid-century canvas painting that has no frame. That was kind of the theme of this room. Another of my discoveries during COVID was that some of the most beautiful bird cages in the world are made in Croatia. And I commissioned this bird cage to be made for canaries, which I ordered to be my COVID friends, two of which you can see here. They're red factor canaries. And they sing beautifully. I think everyone should get canaries. They're so charming. And I just love this bird cage. It was such a special addition to the room, and it sort of became this sculptural element and really suits the spirit of the room, I think. So one of the things I always say about decorating is that if there's something that you love, it will always work in your space. And to that end, something that has followed me for many years is this vintage disco ball that I bought at the old Chelsea Flea Market at 26th Street, which I'm sure some of you will remember. It is long gone, but I have lugged this thing around through many apartments and many houses, and no matter what the decorating scheme has been, it has always worked, and people have always loved it. It has always looked great, and it looks great in this room. I don't know what it is. It's a Victorian farmhouse. The room is somewhat traditional, and that disco ball looks totally appropriate in it. So if you love something, put it in your room and it will look perfect. One of my best tips for decorating a room is really putting up guardrails on what you're buying, and find a very neutral baseline, sandy, flaxy neutrals, chocolate brown, some kind of neutral palette, and then pick one pop color or two pop colors and only buy things in that palette. Then maybe add one more color, layer in a few other things, but always have that neutral base palette and the room will always look great. I am a very novice art collector and probably buy the totally wrong things, and I only buy what I like, which inevitably is probably definitely the wrong things. But this is a Tom Sachs Kelly bag, which here I can take the thing off so that you can see it a little better. When I was a student at Parsons, we always carried the Klein canvas tool bag with all of our scissors and colored pencils and everything. And the artist Tom Sachs did a version of that, and he replicated an Hermes bag with, the lock and everything and the chain. And it's called the Tom Sachs Kelly bag. So he issued, a few of them. And I bought it as part of my art collection, which I think is so charming and funny. So it's a little nod to my days as a Parsons student. I think it's so charming. So off the living room, we have the library. Let's check it out. And welcome to the library. So for this room, I sort of did a lot of the same renovations that I did in the front living room, and installed beadboard ceiling. I actually painted it a really bright yellow because I just felt like consolidating a lot of the color, particularly with the paint in this house. It gets a lot of light, so I felt like doubling down on the light in this room, and the color felt like the right direction. It gets a lot of morning light, so it felt really like keeping it as cheerful as possible was kind of what the room wanted. And to that end, like I said, really bright yellow ceiling, this fantastic Danish modern lantern. Again, when you're shopping for vintage light fixtures, vintage furniture, it doesn't have to be on the nose. Obviously, this is a Victorian house, but this is a mid-century light fixture, but it still has the spirit of a Victorian lantern. So it still works in the context of the house. And I just love the color of the glass. And it's not like you would find that in a Victorian light fixture necessarily. So in addition to all of those bright colors, adding in some bright upholstery, some bright side tables, just keeping all of these really vibrant elements contained into one room, keeps up the guardrails of design all into a sort of safe space for me in this one room. And that's what keeps it really successful, I think. Again, grounding the space with this really severe East Lake bookcase kind of lends the authenticity of reminding you that we're in a Victorian house with that really nice ebonized finish. And then, again, twisting it a little bit, one of my other collections, which I've been amassing for a while, are these really cool Italian ceramics. They pop up every once in a while at auction, and obviously you can find them at flea markets all over the place. But you know, when you group all of your collections into one big kind of mass, it becomes sculptural and really impactful. So I'm always looking for places to do that, and I love kind of how that looks with the bookcase. So one of my design tricks, which is often overlooked and actually was developed over obligation. When I was a student and I had like 2 pennies, I found this trunk on the street because in the city, obviously people are throwing things out all the time, and it became the coffee table in my first apartment. And look, it's still a coffee table in my house today, and it is awesome. I feel like people always overlook steamer trunks as a piece of furniture, and they always look great. I love the old hotel stickers on them and the travel stickers, and it's amazing storage. You keep all of the stuff that you don't want to see, or, you know, holiday decorations or whatever inside when you don't need them day to day. So it's just an amazing element, and you should use it. You know, I kind of used this painting as inspiration for the room, and that felt like the roadmap for all of the pieces that went into this room. But again, the sort of beige was the foundation, the wall color, and then that created the kind of background for all of the highlights of the bright colors. And I think that's what makes the room work, is kind of that paper bag brown. And then everything else becomes an accessory. So I think that that is always important. This sofa is Ralph Lauren. I bought it at auction. Someone upholstered it at one time in this silk velvet, and I think I know why they got rid of it, because it's impossible to take care of, but it is beautiful. I love chocolate brown. It came with 4 pillows, which weirdly was not enough because it's like not functional. But then 6 pillows is actually too much. So if anyone has any ideas about how to fix this, everyone always comments that there's too many pillows, but actually it's exactly the right amount. Don't be alarmed. Obviously, Bellport is a seaside community. We can't not have boats in our decor. I love this. It's an actual, like a pond boat, they call them. People would sail them in the early 20th century on ponds. And I don't know how they would get them back once they sent them out on the pond, but now this one safely lives on top of the bookcase in this room. This is a Ming Aralia tree that used to live in Brooklyn, and it made its way here to this house and seems to be happy in this corner. I love an interesting, unusual houseplant. I am not great at keeping them alive, but somehow this one has really fought me and stayed alive for about 10 years so far, so it's winning the battle. And I just think it's, having some kind of life. It's like the canaries, the trees, it's good to have things that are living in your space, to sort of create a little bit of responsibility beyond just furniture and things. So I started my career in fashion. I attended Parsons School of Design. I loved fashion. I loved magazines. Growing up, I could not wait to move to New York and be in the fashion world. And I just loved everything about it. I loved fashion shows. I loved clothes. I still love clothes. And it was really the thing that I loved most in the world. And I started my career at Marc Jacobs. I was an intern. I was the intern that would not leave. I interned at Marc Jacobs, I think, my entire time as a student. And it was just the best. The most beautiful fabrics, the most beautiful buttons, and just seeing fashion in real life was a dream. And when I graduated, I went to work at J. Crew, and that I always felt like was my graduate school from Parsons, because it was really about American sportswear kind of on the mass level, and how to make clothes that really sell to a huge amount of people. And that was so fascinating to me, kind of understanding how the business of fashion works. And then after that stint at J. Crew, I was able to launch my own line of women's wear, which was very exciting. I had my first fashion show. We staged it at Christie's auction house, which was in 2007. And a very small little women's collection, but very beautiful, just great, colorful sportswear, like this room. It was very special, jackets and dresses that you could wear back to everything you love, a t-shirt and jeans. And did that for quite some time before going back to J. Crew and leading the women's and children's line for a number of years before making the big transition to decorating and design, which is what I do now for my own company, and working for a lot of the people that I made clothes for with my own line, who are now buying houses and apartments that need to be renovated and decorated. So it's a lot of full circle moments for me in my career, but it's been very special, and I still get to enjoy fashion for myself and, enjoy color and fabric and all of those things in a totally new way, working in the home world. The transition from fashion into home was totally natural. I mean, it's solving all of the same problems. Putting an outfit together is exactly the same as putting a room together. It's proportion, color, texture, detail, accessories. It's all of the same elements of design, just in a totally different context, and in a lot of ways feels very refreshing. Well, let's go look at the rest of the house. There's tons more to see. Welcome to the dining room. So this room probably got the most ceiling work of any of the rooms downstairs. It actually had one of the lowest ceilings of the downstairs rooms and the biggest can lights I think I've ever seen. And in being thoughtful to the idea of a Victorian farmhouse and the idea of a dining room, we raised the ceiling and installed this coffered ceiling with beadboard going in all different directions. So when you have dinner parties and things, it has this really interesting feel, especially with candlelight, and it has a little bit more grandeur than the other rooms, and feels very special. A great find from our little auction house in town in Bellport is this curio cabinet, which is just amazing. If you don't have a curio cabinet, you have to get one immediately. You can put all of your weird little things in here, and it keeps anyone with a little bit of a hoarder mentality really organized. I put everything in here. There's pictures, old pictures of my mom when she was a kid. There's special plates. I always collect local antique postcards and old like travel brochures from Bellport. Look, sometimes the chickens lay they're called fairy eggs, like miniature eggs. So I just keep them in here and they dry out. And I just think it looks great. Whenever we're doing dinner parties or cocktail parties, people just love to come and look at all the little trinkets and special things in here. So again, I love throwing in one modern element, especially in a traditional interior. And in the dining room, I have this huge Milo Boffman dining table. I think there's, I don't know, 5 or 6 leaves. This right now has none of the leaves put in, and it still seats 6 people. But it just looks great in here. It really balances out all of the Victorian and kind of antique furniture and really grounds the space in feeling not too traditional. So I paired it with these, I guess these are Klizmos chairs, but in any case, these ebonized antique chairs, and it just looks fantastic. I use it sometimes as a desk. I can put all of my work out on it, and it's really functional. And then if I have to have a big dinner party like Thanksgiving or something, I can extend it all the way into the library and seat, 15 people at it if I need to. And I just love it so much. Another of the collections that I started when I was renovating this house was antique portraits. And at first glance, people might think it was a little cliche, but there is a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek element to them. And the context or the filter with which I try to buy these portraits is that there's something messed up or weird about them. So if you look at each one individually, you'll see there's something off-putting about them in general. She's quite beautiful. She has kind of interesting talisman, but there's sort of a green, sickly hue to what's going on there. And she's sort of, I don't know what's going on here. So she's sort of creepy, haunted house looking. Then these two guys, we could start with his funny fur coat. He sort of looks like he could be a clown out of makeup or something. I don't know, there's a circus-y element happening. And then he's, shirtless, sort of has a 70s vibe happening. So, there's something weird about all of the portraits. It's not just, a straightforward antique portrait. So that's my criteria for the antique portraits. And I have quite a few more of them actually. And I like to rotate them for variation. All right, let's go check out the kitchen. And here we are in the kitchen. So this was the original working kitchen of the boarding house. And to that end, there's this massive pocket door, which you can divide the entire house off from the kitchen, which is very interesting. There is the original working fireplace, which is actually the cooking fireplace. Now we just keep silver platters and stuff in here, although it does work. I've never cooked on it. But people love the idea that you could have a fireplace in the kitchen. But this is, I guess, how they would cook everything for the boarders. I did a big renovation in this kitchen, although you would probably never know it because it pretty much looks exactly how it would have looked when the house was built. The original beadboard walls, we took everything off and then put everything back on. The cabinets, we took everything out and then resized everything to accommodate for a new refrigerator, a new stove, and then put everything back in. Remade all of the cabinet doors, resourced the original hinges, and then put everything back. And then I knew that I wanted a really special marble. This is Opera Dart marble from France, but I wanted to keep everything feeling really casual. There is something very casual about the house, and although I felt like a stone counter did not feel appropriate for the house, this particular marble, I felt, because of its kind of undulating colors, felt a little bit like beach stones, and that to me felt very appropriate to the house. And the colors also spoke to, I think, a lot of the colors in the house. So that's where we landed with that. I love a big kitchen island, but unfortunately, because of the proportion of the working kitchen being so narrow, we really couldn't have a proper kitchen island. So I sourced this game table just so that we could have something to lean against, chit chat while people are cooking. And it really gets a lot of use, as you can see. It's a great table. So one of the things that I love about this house is that it functions in totally different ways depending on the season. During the summer, I'm almost never inside because the yard and the gardens are so beautiful and there's so much work to do. I'm almost always outside. Plus, we have a beautiful porch, which basically becomes the outdoor living room during the summer. So we'll go look at the porch in a second, but I want to show you some pieces from my china collection first. So we have these fabulous built-in cabinets, and they just fit these blue and white pieces so perfectly. I bought most of them at auction, but look at how great. I use them all the time, and someone was like, oh, they're too beautiful, you can't use those. And I'm like, well, what are you supposed to use? I hate the idea that you have china and you don't use it. It's like, ugh, I can't imagine not using what you love. So who knows, we just use it. We haven't had any casualties yet, but I mean, if something happens, what are you gonna do? And welcome to the porch. So the porch is very special. It is basically the summer living room. It's big enough to be divided into a big dining area and also a very gracious and beautiful kind of living area. And it truly is an outdoor living room. Everyone is pretty much outside the entire season. And there's a beautiful seagrass rug on this side and a beautiful seagrass rug on this side. When I first moved to the house, there was this amazing stick rattan furniture here, which only lasted about one season and totally fell apart. So I became insane about finding a replacement set, and I finally did. So this is the replacement set, but I wanted it to be identical to what would have been original to the house because it was, I was told, original to the house. So it made it all the way up until I bought the house. And now hopefully this set will make it another, 100 years. We shall see. But I just love it out here. We put up the lanterns, it's great at night. The view is so beautiful just looking out at the gardens. Of course, the dog loves being out here watching the chickens and the deer run by all day. Luckily, the screen porch was in pretty great condition when we moved in. There was only one little light bulb hanging from a wire, so I replaced that with a fan, replaced some of the lighting. But all in all, it was in pretty spectacular condition. So besides kind of brushing up with the furnishings and doing a little paint, it was one of the lightest touch renovation spaces that I had to do. So I love an accessory coming from the fashion world, and obviously pillows are the ultimate accessory in the home world. And these Joseph Frank pillows make me crazy. I could not decide on what print I liked the most, so I pretty much bought one of each, or actually a couple of each print. And I figured out that the best arrangement when you're mixing prints with pillows is to group them together. So don't just mix all the prints together, put the like prints together, and then, so that there's some kind of order. And that always looks the best. So that's how I did it on the couches, and it ends up looking a little bit more logical if you have them at least grouped together with a little bit of order. Well, it's an absolutely beautiful day. So I don't know if you can hear it, but the chickens are desperate to be let out and poke around the garden. So let's go let them out and we'll look at the gardens for ourselves. Okay, well, it is a beautiful day here in Bellport, and I'm a little late letting the chickens out, so they're not so happy. Come this way. So I built the chicken coop while we were renovating the house, and I figured while the carpenters were here, why not have them just build a chicken coop? And there was an old, I don't know, treehouse or something that was falling down on this location. So we basically just replaced the treehouse with this chicken coop. And everyone said it was an outrageous chicken castle, but I think it's the perfect size for 10 little chickens. All right, girls, come on out. I know, come on. Come on out. Come on out. Come on out. So none of them have names, and this is the combination of 2 flocks. And half of them started out commuting as weekend chickens from Brooklyn, and we would come back and forth. And then the other half I got while we were out here. So there's 10 total, and now they live in harmony together. My fantasy of getting the chickens was that I would have all different colored eggs, which is exactly what has happened. And they lay so many eggs that I give them away to everyone that will take them. And they lay all different colors and all different sizes, come to find out. But we have green, chocolate brown, little pink eggs. It's really charming, and it's really fun and charming. And this time of year, they lay so many, you like don't even know what to do. It's like outrageous. Like, look at these girls. I mean, they are like desperate. Look at all these eggs. I mean, they are so funny. It's never not outrageous to come out here and like get eggs out of the coop. So now that we've let the chickens out to roam, let's go check out the garden and see what's in bloom. The property did not look like this when I came to first look at it. It was totally ramshackly and crazy. Like any stone that you see was not here before. This tree I put in, these hedges were basically sticks. Nothing looked like this. And anything that looks like it's overgrown right now is by design. This is technically called a parterre, which would be a kitchen garden, a cutting garden. People use it traditionally for a few different reasons. I basically shove anything into it which will grow and come back year after year, which has taken a few seasons to figure out what those species are. And then periodically I'll pop in a few different things like herbs or anything that I think is pretty at the nursery. But I figured out what kind of pops up every year and what will keep going. We also have a terrible deer issue in this whole area. I think it's actually considered an invasion or an epidemic. I forget exactly what the term is, but they eat pretty much everything. So anything that you see here are things that deer, I guess, do not eat. In any case, the astilbe, the purple and the white just started blooming, which looks so nice. It's a cool time of the summer because everything starts to get really like blousy and kind of like relaxed. The springtime, you know, everything's like very crisp and bright and, you know, everything's like perfectly in bloom. And now everything kind of gets like a little weedy and, you know, I think it's a little more casual and cool. When I bought the house, there used to be this big crumbling concrete urn in the center, which after a couple seasons actually did crumble and turn to sand, basically. So I installed this. It came from, I think, South Carolina. It's a sugar bowl, and it's a sort of like distilled sugar in it. And now we made it into a fire pit. So in the summer, sometimes we'll have a cocktail party or something, and we'll light a big fire in it. And it's so dramatic and looks so great. I think it looks so cool. And let's see. There's lots of peonies in here. They're done blooming. The grasses sort of hop up and they look great. This is Joe Pye weed. It's a native. It's really going wild this year. Cool. Bleeding hearts, they're done. Some sedums, very cute. Yeah, everything's really like becoming very frothy. All the magnolias are blooming really nicely this year too. Southern magnolias. And a lot of what was really special about this yard too was all of the layers of hedges. This whole parterre garden is bordered by a boxwood hedge, and then behind it is a privet hedge. And then at each of the four corners are Alberta spruce, which are really fantastic looking. You know, there's a level of formality to the garden that kind of creates structure, and then within that, this kind of very casual nature, which is interesting. And then just beyond the parterre, just sort of a hidden gem, is the pool back here. So there's a little bit of structure and formality around the pool with these four sort of very specific plantings on each side, but they're allowed to kind of get blousy and frothy to kind of add to that casual nature. So I think it's like quite charming. Oh, this is just the little lounge area. And this is a Hollywood prop, which now I'm stuck with after buying for a Halloween party. It floats in the pool. So now it lives here by the pool. And it really scares the landscapers. Another little special thing on the property is this beautiful treehouse. The chickens love it. Some of them go up in it. They like to take little dust baths underneath it. But it's such a magical little thing. Anytime kids visit, they like to go up there and just hang out. It's like only pretty much accessible by children. The hatch is like this big. But it's amazing. It was built by a local craftsman, you know, years ago, and it's really stood the test of time. Let's head upstairs and check out the bedroom. Okay, so welcome to my bedroom. Like I said, since this was a boarding house, all of the bedrooms were very small and awkward. This is the biggest bedroom, albeit the most awkward of all of the bedrooms. So the bed actually has to float in the middle of the room. There's no orientation where a bed can actually be up against a wall. But that's fine. I made it work and picked a very nice sandy green for the walls of this room. And because it gets lots of morning light, it actually is a really beautiful neutral color and looks great throughout the day. Again, lots of furniture, feels period appropriate. So I love an armoire. Especially these faux bamboo pieces. This is French from, I don't know, 20s or 30s. It breaks down into 1 million pieces, which is how I got it up here, the only way. But coming from the fashion world, I obviously need lots of storage for clothes, and it was a necessity in a house like this with no closets. And of course, with bedding, I love to play with color. And rather than buying all matching sheet sets, I like to buy all different like tonal colors of sheets. So like, I don't know, don't buy all one color of green, buy like all mixy matchy colors of green and then like one off color. So this is my like current arrangement is like blues and greens and one pink pillow. That's my current summer colorway. So again, back to my collecting of weird portraits. I have two. There's one here and one back here, both by a Portuguese artist from the 30s called Ishmael Blah. And this one I love especially. It's called The Witches. And it's this lady and then all like spirit versions of herself like whispering in her ear, and she's clutching a rosary. It's so creepy and funny. That I bought at auction ages ago. And then there's another that's like a creepy old man with a pipe. I don't know, they just really suit the spirit of the house, I think. They look great. Who doesn't want creepy old portraits of people staring at you while you're in bed? So these windows don't overlook the flower gardens, but they do have a very beautiful view of all of the specimen trees to the east, which is awesome. When you wake up in the morning, you just see like all of these very beautiful trees, which is so magical, making up for all those years of looking out at brick walls in Manhattan. So this was the original sleeping porch, which has since been converted into an interior space and now a little desk area, which is so nice. I like to take zooms here, which is like lots of natural light. And you sort of feel like you're in like, I don't know, like Captain Sandy or something on Below Deck, like you're in the bridge, you know, sort of on like a cruise ship or something. You can see like everything. But it's so nice. I have my desk here and, you know, it's like what a different view from, you know, all of those days working in the city. And a highlight of this space is these clerestory windows, which are all original to the house in all of these kooky colors. Again, so beautiful. And you can see where I pulled some of the colors for some of the rooms from some of the original colors of stained glass. Home to me means a place where you're surrounded by all the things that you love and that bring you joy. So here's to being at home. Thanks, Homeworthy, for coming to visit me at my home. Now, you gotta go. Get out of here.
Hi, Homeworthy. Welcome to my home. Please come in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, Homeworthy. Welcome to my home. My name is Gabrielle. I live in Maintenon, which is 1 hour from Paris. So I'm a visual merchandiser, which is my main job. But I do also work as a community manager. I do some photographies, and I'm also a content creator on my social media. I share interior design ideas. So now I live in the countryside. So I live in Paris for about 10 years. I wanted to live in the countryside because I grew up in the countryside, and I was looking for more space. My last apartment was about 12 square meters, and so it was really small, and I need like a huge space. One bedroom, one living room, like a space to work. This town is really nice because my sister lives just not far from me, and so that's pretty great because I'm close to my family, and that's nice. So here we are in my living room, which is also like my atelier. Here you have like my desk corner. This is where I work most of the time. But you have also like my couch. So you have, the space is divided in two. So you have here the living room where I can lay down and relax. And here you have like my desk corner, and this is where I work and create decoration. So in this corner of my home, you have my desk corner, and above it you have this huge gallery wall that I built months ago. And I wanted to start this gallery wall because I had many frames behind my doors, and I wanted to hang them because as I'm more at home, I wanted to hang them and to see them. And so I started from the bottom, and it just goes like a puzzle. And I try to use different sizes, different types. So you have paintings, you have drawings. So this is one that I painted myself. You have this one, which is a print from an exhibition that I did in London in 2019. So this painting is from Heather Felder, which is an artist that I love, and she painted this one for me. And she paints a lot of portrait women, and she loves to represent complexity of emotion of women, and she does amazing work, and I just love what she do. I have another 2 or 3 other work from her, and I just love what she do, and she's a great artist. So this one is pretty unexpected because you see a frame with necklaces, and so these necklaces are from my mother. She does jewelry, and she loves to create, and she taught me a lot about creativity, and I wanted to hang them and make them like a piece of art. As I'm a visual merchandiser, I love to highlight products, and I want to see them in a different way. And so that's why I wanted to hang them like a piece of art, and I think it works, and I think it's really pretty, and it's unexpected. So this one is an illustration from my little sister. I love this one because she make a black and white illustration, and this is different from she do because she loves to sew. And so this drawing is a special one because I never see like this, and so that's why I love it. Voilà. So I have this shelf that I've thrifted on Vinted for €1. So it was really, really, really cheap, and it allows me to display my brushes. This is part of this gallery wall. So when I start this gallery wall, I hang first this shelf, and so that's why I started to around, but also, as I said earlier, down. And it allows me also to, when I need to take a photo for in my social media, I can display things, a flower, anything. So right now, I display the mushrooms that I created recently. And so I just let them like this because we are in the fall season, and so this is part of the decor for now. So this candle holder, I really love it. I thrifted also from Vinted, and I love to create like nature moments. And so this is fake storms, very easy to care of. And I love to display dried flowers. So here you have my TV corner, and I used, as I don't have a huge space, I wanted to have like a piece of furniture, but not very large. And so I decided to use wooden boxes from bottled wine, and I painted them in white. And it goes like a shelf, and I can display thrifted vases, all my books, frames, and sometimes I like to change depending on my mood, but I think it's a nice hack if you want to have like a shelf, but not very large. Here you have this full wreath that I created a few weeks ago, and honestly, for me, I think this is really hard to find full decor in France, especially wreath. but also pumpkins and everything. And so I use dried flower from my previous spring flower, and I just hang them, and I think it works for the fall season. So as a visual merchandiser, my main job is to highlight products. So it could be products or it could be painting, it depends of the client or the project. My main domain is to work in a windows shop. So I'm always working in small spaces or big ones, depends of the project. What I love about interior design is to work around the season that we are into. And so right now we are in fall. So you will see around the house mushrooms. So you have my wreaths that I did. You have fake stems. You have real ones for sure. And so you have colocants and pumpkins. Very hard to find in France, pumpkins. So you have those mushrooms that I created months ago for the fall season. And so I have many of them around my house. I love to display them in my kitchen. You have on these shelves, sometimes under a transparent globe. And so I love to celebrate nature. I love to work around nature. So I'm doing this on my free time to just having a good time and to just relax. And so that's what I love, to work around the season. So right now, as we are in fall, this is mushrooms. And when it's on Easter, you have those eggs that I painted on April. So you have those flowers on it. So as I am renting this part of the house, I already have furniture here. And so as you can see, this couch was already here, and it was before purple. And I wanted to cover it, and I just bought an Amazon cover on it and add some texture and patterns on it to just make it feel more, not just like a white couch. And so I use a fabric, which is not a fabric, it's a scarf, but it's the same. And just add pillows to make it cozier. And behind me, I have this chair that I found in Paris on the streets. And the guy has many objects, many furniture. He has table and everything. I saw this chair, and I thought it's perfect for my place. And so I took. My sister helped me to bring it back here. And so it's really nice to find sometimes you found pieces outside in the streets, and sometimes you found garbage, but sometimes you find great pieces like this one. This coffee table, I bought it recently because before I had like a glass coffee table, very small, very squared. And this one, I love it because it's almost like a French aisle from a kitchen. The size is perfect because it's really hard to find nice coffee table, very small for small spaces. And so this one is perfect because this is not small, but this is not huge at the same time. So for me, this is the perfect size. And sometimes when I have to work on something very detailed and special, I love to sit here and work on this table because the light is very great here because sometimes my home is dark during the afternoons. So I built this gallery wall above my couch, and I wanted to be a little bit harmonized. So I used the blue and the yellow, which is a color that I really love. I'm really obsessed with the yellow color. So you see this lamp is also yellow. And so on this side you have this huge painting that I thrifted in an antique store. So around my home I have many lamps, and because my home is not really light during the day, I have to turn on the light. And so I wanted to find different lamps. And you see that this one is a lamp that I thrifted on, it's from Vinted. And you have also this lamp, which is like the same Material, this is also from Vinted. So I love all the different shapes and colors of lamps. So I have different. So this one is a lamp that my mother created for me when I first moved in, and she used a fall garland and created like a nature moment in the house, and so I just love it, and for me it works all the year, so I just love it. And you have also this lamp that I really love. I have this one for many years. I would say maybe since I was 16 or 17. And this is like an architect lamp. And it's very practical for me because when I have to work for a specific project or a detail, you can move around, and it's really nice. I can also turn like this and spray like a huge light. I really love this lamp. As you can see behind me, I have many frames, and so I have different gallery walls around the house. And so at first I was very hesitant to hang frames on my walls because I worked a lot outside, and so when I go home I just wanted to have like a blank canvas to work. And so now that I'm more at home, I just need to hang all the frames that I already have, because I always love to thrift frames for me or for gifts and everything. And so that's why now that I'm more at home, I just wanted to hang them and create gallery walls to help me to be inspired for my work. So here we are in my kitchen, which is a very small kitchen. Very practical for me because I'm not a huge cooker, even though I love to bake, I love to make some small meals, but I make it like very practical for me. So you have here my coffee space. So you have my coffee maker, you have my bread box. This is a box where you have my eggs, it could be my vegetable. So this glass cabinet I thrifted months ago. As in my kitchen there is no shelves, there is no closet, I wanted to add like a glass shelf because I love transparency. I love to open it and see what's inside, and it's very practical because I have all my coffee mugs and a cup of tea. You have my sugar, you have my tea, and so this I thrifted on Vinted, and I painted with this burgundy color, and inside I use a yellow mustard because in my kitchen I wanted to use burgundy, yellow and green. So as I don't have many space to tidy my things, I wanted to find ways to create like spaces practical for me to cook. So as you can see, I use this middle box and I turn it on the wall to use it as like a tidy moment to hang my scissor for the tea, the spoon and everything. And so this is a great way to use the space. You have this basket that I use for my fruits and vegetables, and so this is a basket and you just hang like this. I use two, and it's very practical for me because as I don't have many real corner closet for tidy my things, I use this hack to hang baskets, and I think it works, and this is also like a decor and very pretty for the eye. So I thrifted this glass cabinet for my spices. I saw this idea, I think it was on Pinterest, and I really love this idea, and also we are always with this idea of transparency and see what's inside, and I just love it, and it's very practical for me because they are all of them, they are here, and so I just have to open it, and it's very cute, it's very nice for me, and I just really love it. So as I love to thrift and find old things, I have many plates, many trays, and so I want to use them as a decor because sometimes I have too many, and using them as a decor is very nice because it adds a very visual interest, and it's really pretty in the home, and I just love it. And sometimes I love to change the color depending on the season. So I love to collect blue dishes, and it reminds me like the English cottage style, and they are not very matchy, but I just love them, and I have a different one. I have this one that I love to use for snacks or anything, and I have different types of blue dishes, and I love the way that they are not always the same because it's really hard to find like a real set, and sometimes it could be very expensive, so I really love it. So here you have my kitchen shelf. So this kitchen is very small, so I don't have many cabinets and many things to tidy, and so I installed this shelf. I have all my glasses, I have pots with my pasta, and pretty vases when I need to use to decor my home. I have all of them here. And I thrifted recently this it's on Vinted, and so I have my tea. I just love it because it's a little bit like cottagey. What I love about my town is that you are like in a small city, but you also have the forest, you have the river, so I live across the river. The first time when I walk in this place, the first thing that I see was the view. The view of this place was, it just, I see this window and I was just like, okay, this is where I want to live. I see the river, I see the ducks, I see so much beauty and the nature like just in front of me, and I thought this is amazing, and the space was very bright, a little bit old also, and that made me feel like a real home for me. If I have to describe my style, I would say I'm a little bit eclectic, also maximalist in a way, but I love to mix styles, so I don't want to be stuck in one style. So sometimes you will see that I have like a cottage vibe, you will see that I have like a modern vibe, different style, and I think for me mixing styles is a great move to have like a unique home, but also to have like this huge opportunity to love many things. Maybe it's a problem, but So now we are going to see my bedroom. So I really love this bedroom because it's a huge space. The room is really big, and it's really nice because before I had a small space, and so now I have a big bedroom. As you can see here, there is like a blank wall. It's because I love to watch movies, and so I have a projector. The first thing that I really love when I walked through the first time in this room was this view. The view of the river is just so beautiful. I have the chance to observe the nature. I see ducks, I see squirrels, and this is just so beautiful and very peaceful, and I really love it, and the space is really, the vibes are really good here, and I really love it, and I wanted to keep it very bright, so that's why I have less frames, but I have mirrors to for my makeup, to put my jewelry and everything, so it's more bright, but it's very peaceful for me. So this is the corner where I love to display all my jewelry. I love to wear earrings, so I have many. I have also rings, necklaces. So I really love this corner of my home. It's the corner with my golden mirror that I thrifted on Le Bon Coin, which is a huge mirror, and I really love it. It's really heavy. At first I wanted to hang on the wall, but as it is really heavy, I didn't want to make a huge hole on the wall, and so I just let here, and I think it's really nice. But sometimes it's hard to see myself. I just have to be like this to see my outfit, but I really love it because when it's Christmas or fall, I love to create a garland by myself. So this garland is homemade. I created this days ago, and I use dried flower that I already have in my closet. I dried oranges, I sprayed fake stirps and flowers, and add some pumpkins to remind the fall season. I really love it. So home for me means feel like you are in a safe place, like a safe haven, you know. But also for me, especially as I work a lot here, a place where you are inspired and you have ideas that came from your home because you build it, because you have the things that you collected or gifts or memories. It could be photos and etc. So, and books for sure. And so that's why home is about like a safe place. Thank you, Homeworthy, for touring my home today. See you next time. Bye.
Today on Homeworthy, we're taking you to Oxford, Mississippi for a look inside interior designer Priscilla Wright's darling home. Fondly regarded as the tree house, Priscilla's colonial-style home is enveloped by gorgeous historic trees that line the property. Inspired by her surroundings, Priscilla has beautifully woven greens and leaf patterns into her classic and traditional decor. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hello, Homeworthy. Welcome to our home in Oxford, Mississippi. I'm Priscilla Wright, and I'm so excited to welcome you here and show you around our home today. Come on in. Hello, my name is Priscilla Wright, and I'm an interior designer. Welcome to our home called the Tree House in Oxford, Mississippi. We call it the Tree House because during our renovation, a friend visited it, and he said this is just like living in a tree house because we have many beautiful historic trees surrounding the property. And the house is open plan. This is our great room, we call it. And you'll see there's no entry hall. You just walk right in. So I use this 17th century English table as an anchor for the entry and arranged the gathering area and the dining area on either side. I always have books. I have an extensive collection of design books. We have a lot of gardening books, history books, holiday books, so I change the books according to what's going on. I always have something living in the middle of the table, flowers, a plant, etc., because I think it's very important to have something alive in your house besides you. And then this lantern hanging over the table is from London, and you'll note it has the acorn finial, which you'll see as a recurring theme in the tree house. And then to kind of expand the entry, I bought this contemporary lacquer table designed by Veer Grenny for the Lacquer Company. So as I love mixing modern pieces and antiques of all kinds, these Brighton Pavilion style bamboo armchairs were a garage sale find, and it was quite a garage sale. Gail Getty of the Getty family was moving back to Italy about 40 years ago, and my husband and I were out walking in the hills and we came upon her sale. She was lovely. We agreed on a price for the chairs. We walked home. There was no Venmo in those days, so we brought her a check and each of us carried a chair home. So that's kind of a fun way to remember our time living in the Hollywood Hills. Then this is our gathering area, and the sofa is vintage Baker, upholstered in an equally vintage Colfax and Fowler Gaffrage velvet. These tables are very interesting. When I was working for Suzanne Reinstein and Associates, we had a commission to kind of refresh a very prestigious private club in California. The original designer was Frances Elkins, who was a visionary designer of the early 20th century. And we were hired because first we knew who she was and they knew we would respect what she had done. So these tables are called muffin stand tables, and we reproduced some more of them for the job, which is quite an undertaking because there are a lot of different components, all done by independent craftspeople. And you'll see they have the acorn finial, I didn't add that, and then this beautiful curved leg, almost like, ends in almost an elephant's foot. So I decided after all that work I needed two for myself, and I'm glad I have them. These chairs my aunt gave me, and in the 90s when we had no furniture, they're originally from my uncle's shoe store in San Diego, and they're also Baker. They are Louis Kahn style faux toys, and I reupholstered them in red leather and painted them dirty white, and that has really stood the test of time. The leather has some patina on it, but I think that just adds to the charm of the chairs. They're also really comfortable. This ottoman I designed myself many years ago, and this is Colfax and Fowler Malabar fabric that I bought from a neighborhood garage sale, and I had just enough to make this ottoman. So that worked out really well. The window shades are a fabric by the esteemed antiquarian and designer Robert Kime in England, and they're called Queen Anne panel. They're inspired by a 17th century Indian quilt. He did a lot of antiquing and gathering in India and also in the Far East. And so I love this fabric because I don't know what came first, the fabric or the colors in the room. I think it was the fabric, so I based all the colors on this pattern. And then you'll see over the mantle is a new piece that I commissioned. It's a collage of dried flowers and leaves by the esteemed tastemaker Marion McAvoy. And I sent her a piece of the fabric and a photograph of it that she used as inspiration. So it's really nice to tie everything together with this new piece. It's from Suzanne's daughter's store, KRB in New York City. And also these are new hurricanes copied from Antique in the amber glass, are also from KRB. I am an 8th generation Californian. My husband, we met in California, but he's originally from Mississippi. So we always knew we would return, or he would return and I would follow to live in Oxford one day. He is a big Ole Miss football fan, and our family spent a lot of time down here through the years, and we all love it. So we decided during the pandemic that was a good time to move here. And we found this house. It's a new house. It was built in 2016. I had never lived in what I consider a new house. And the architectural style is basically a colonial style with some southern elements. The outside, they're very wide porches. And so it's a very livable house. And when we walked in, it was a football condo, and it had outlets for 4 televisions in the living room and a lot of things that we weren't really that interested in, but we weren't living in it part-time. This was our home, so it was very important to both of us that we create a home here. Now I'll take you over to the other side of the room, which is the dining library area. And when I first saw this house, this was the house that we bought, and it was in a great location. We liked this style. I had never lived in an open plan house before, so I really had to think through how to arrange everything, and no plans came with the house. So I was kind of winging it. And when the movers were here, you know, they asked, well, where do you want this? Where do you want that? And I had it in my head and roughly on paper, but I kind of did it on the fly, and I haven't moved very many things. I've added things, but the basic pieces were in place the day we moved in. So that worked out quite well. And we have a lot of books, and we gave away a lot of books when we moved. So we decided to build a bookcase here, and I've always loved dining rooms with books. I guess you would say the saying, books do furnish a room, I firmly believe in. So we built this wall-to-wall bookcase, and then I put the dining table and chairs in front of it, and it makes it a very convivial, warm space. We've had a lot of fun dinner parties here. This table is French, as are the chairs. 19th century, early 19th century in the Louis XV style. And I love this table because it has these beautiful feet, which are kind of jolly in a way. They make me feel happy when I look at them. And then the chairs, I bought these separately and put them together. These are not a set. And the chairs are very comfortable because the seat widens out at the ends. So you think, oh, they're going to be uncomfortable French chairs, but they're actually very comfortable to sit in. It also expands, and we can cram around 10 people around this table once you pull the leaves out. And I have 10 Victorian ballroom chairs hidden up in the attic, which work well to do that. My first confession about being a hostess is my daughter told me I should go to Chinaholics Anonymous because I have so many sets of dishes, and from my grandmother, both sides of my family, my mother's, my aunt's, my own. I gave away quite a few things when we moved, and the woman who helped me move in, she said, please tell me you don't have any more dishes. So before we redid our kitchen, I had sets of dishes crammed all over the house. So that was a big part of our kitchen renovation. So I love to choose my china. I love to mix and match. I have some modern plates that Christopher Spitzmiller gave me, his marble plates in pink, which come in, I use them at almost every party for something. And I do candles on the table. I wouldn't say I'm an over-the-top host, but I do love candles, and I love to have the silver, all the things that make entertaining special. Of course, cloth napkins. I have probably 200 napkins. I have my grandmother's damask napkins from probably the early 40s, so I love to use those, and I have new sets, and so I love to just think it all through. I do think that even if you're having 6 to 8 people, I love to have place cards for people because then you avoid that awkward pause where everyone kind of stands at the table and doesn't know where to go. So that's a tip I think that should come back, that people should use more often. Then we have our little library stairs, which come in handy. This chair is a library reading chair, and it's very comfortable. It has a little poof, needlepoint poof underneath it. This lamp and table were my father's, and I've always loved it because, again, I love the feet, and it comes in, it's really great light for reading, so I do spend a lot of time here, even just kind of contemplating all the books. When I talk to clients about decorating, and this is how I approach it, I don't call it traditional, I think it's classic. There are classic rules that if you follow about placement and those sorts of things, if you have absorbed those classic rules, it makes your house very comfortable. People don't know why, but that's a big part of it. And I would say I tend more, if you look around here, you would say that's a maximalist, but my approach is really more minimal in that I don't have piles and piles of stuff at one time. I'm a big editor. So I love when I work with clients. I help them edit their collections, no matter what they may be. Many times people will have a lovely collection of, say, Peruvian pottery, but it's scattered all over their house. So, I try to bring it together, and collections make much more of an impact when they're together. Also, I think comfort is key. If you're not comfortable, it's just not a fun place to be. So I'm a stickler for comfort in my design in terms of lighting, seating, proportion, and then collected. As you can tell, I've collected things for myself throughout. I have things in here from before I got married in this house. And if you buy, Suzanne, my boss, always said, if you buy one good thing a year, and it doesn't have to be expensive, it could be a small vase, it could be a wonderful chair, which might be more expensive, a beautiful wicker basket. If you buy one good thing a year, at the end of 10 years, you have 10 good things. And so as you add and collect that way, it brings a lot of your personality into your home. And it doesn't look like you just went to a furniture showroom and checked things off the box. So that's my approach to decorating. I also love color. I think that's probably growing up in a mixed Latin family in California, lots of color. And I'm what's called a tetrachromat. I have an extra cone in my brain that perceives shades and hues of color very distinctly. And I didn't know why I could pick pink. I love to pick out paint colors, which is it's hard to do, but that's one of my favorite things. So now I'm going to take you through this vestibule, which holds our bar area, which is a lot of fun with this little sink and all the accoutrements that you need to make a drink. And it really comes in handy. And then on the other side is our butler's pantry, and there's a pass-through. And I wanted to show you that I had when we redid the kitchen, I had very deep drawers made for all of my various china patterns. So some are also tucked into the island cupboards, but I did manage to collect most of it in one place. These are the Christopher Spitzmiller marble plates that I use all the time. They come in zillions of colors. You can also do a whole set of china. And so that kind of brings the modernity in. And then I have lots of different plates. These are old Wedgwood Chinese gate dessert plates. I have, what do I have in here? I have a set of bowls that are great for gumbo from, again, antique Wedgwood. I have, let's see, these are dinner plates from that same pattern. This is called charnwood. I bought these dishes about, 35 years ago, maybe 30, because these are from Emma Bridgewater in England, and I had picked out some plainer dishes, and our daughter, who is now a stylist and a florist, she said, Mom, she was 7. She said, Mom, those are so boring. I said, well, why don't you pick them out? So she picked these out, and we've loved them ever since. And you can see they pick up a lot of colors in our kitchen. So again, what came first, the plates or the kitchen colors? Now let me take you into the kitchen. Now we're in the kitchen, and the kitchen looks in some ways very similar to the kitchen that we purchased, but we put a lot of thought into storage, especially things like cookware, trays, more china in the island. So I have a collection of green majolica plates from England and France, and I decided to use these as a focal point of the kitchen design. So that drove, color of the cabinets and all that sort of thing. And I think they're fun and cheerful and give kind of some spirit to this area. I'm also a big fan of using real furniture in kitchens, particularly in open plan, so you get more of a room feel and it doesn't look so clinical. This antique trolley is great for extra overflow display space. You'll see some more dishes there. And on top I have a vintage ceramic lamp, a basket for mail, and this wonderful organizer for cards and invitations and that sort of thing. So that comes in very handy. These stools for the island are vintage pub stools that I ordered actually all the way from Newport Beach, California, and they're really comfortable, so everyone loves those. And this cashpo, a good friend of mine bought from an antique dealer in Memphis, and he said, I know you love basket weave, which is another one of my loves, so he snagged this for me. And I like it because it hides the faucet from a lot of angles. So again, it just kind of touches that you don't feel like you're in the middle of a clinical kitchen when you're in a big room. This settee has been with me for many years, and I had it slip covered here. Oh, Lulu, you're here. This is Lulu. She's a rescue cat, very sociable. Yeah, you like it here, don't you? So that is basically the kitchen. And it was, you know, like any remodel, it's horrible when you're going through it, but at the end you forget and you enjoy your beautiful new space. Much like the great room in the front, our kitchen spills over into our snug where we spend most of our time. I did create somewhat of an illusion of a vestibule, but they're basically one large room. Now here we are in the snug, and I'll start with a special piece. This secretary was my grandmother's. That's probably from about the 1940s. And I always wanted to paint it, but my mother had a fit. So I decided that instead, to kind of brighten it up, I would line it with this marbled English paper. So that does the trick, and it's fun to display different family things. I have a collection of royal coronation china. And this is a Regency inkwell that Suzanne gave me, and I put flowers in it. And here's my grandmother right here. This table is a Japanese coffee table from the 1950s that my father commissioned when he was stationed in Japan. So it's been with me my entire life. I think I learned to walk around it. And I love the raisin color of the lacquer, and it's reflected in the beautiful Tree of Life Claremont fabric that's on the Bridgewater club chairs here that we've had for many years. And I'm just so happy to have it here. This piece of pottery was my first purchase in Mississippi. It's from McCarty Pottery in Marigold, Mississippi. I didn't know about it, but it is very famous in the South. And this beautiful glaze kind of echoes the Mississippi River. There's always a mark of the Mississippi River in the pottery. So that's very special. And it just so happened to fit with the colors so beautifully, which is also a bonus. Then this chest of drawers I bought at auction in New Orleans. We used to buy a lot of antiques from New Orleans for our clients and for the shop. And this is obviously painted. It's either English or French. I bought it for myself for our breakfast room in LA because I always wanted a painted chest in a particular spot. And a very famous interior designer saw it in our office and wanted to buy it for herself, but I had to break it to her that it was mine. It did take some knocks during the move, but we've had it somewhat restored, and we're very happy that it survived. Then on the other side, this garden table is inspired by the garden table that John Fowler did. John Fowler of Colfax and Fowler in London in about the late 40s, early 50s. and I love the scalloped apron. And so scallops have gone in and out of style for a long time. But I think as long as you don't overdo something, they're very classic. The antique pine mirror was my mother's. Also, these were hers. These are hand-colored engravings of snipe birds. I didn't know what they were until I read the back label, but I think they're very interesting and I really enjoy them. I've always loved interior design. My mother was a talented interior designer, as was my stepmother. And for my first career, I went to a different place. I had a long career in advertising at a major advertising agency in Los Angeles. And then I quit working and spent 7 years at home with my children, which was very important to me, and so that was wonderful. They didn't need me anymore, and I was looking for a new career. Suzanne Reinstein was a neighbor of mine, and she had helped me a little bit with our house, and we were friends. And I thought, well, I think I want to become an interior designer. So I talked to her about it, and she said, well, first, you know, can you come and run our shop, Hollyhock? So I started out in the shop, and I really learned interior designer from the best person I could have learned from by osmosis. I did take a few classes at the UCLA extension course, which is wonderful. And then when we closed the shop, I started working in design full time and just have never looked back and loved it ever since. All right, enough about me. I want to tell you more about the house, in particular this room. As soon as we moved in, the afternoon sun in here is blinding. So I bought these chick shades that are Indian, and we had these for the first couple years all by themselves. And you can see that they filter the light, and you see the beautiful green outside. And then I added these soft bottom Romans in a Name Same shade fabric. And so they work really nicely together. And when it's cold, we just put everything down to keep the drafts out. So that's the story on these window shades. I also have a chick shade in our utility room, and I highly recommend them because they are visually very appealing, they filter the light, and they just really are an asset in just about any room. Okay, I think I've shown you about everything in this room, and I'd love to show you our powder room. Come on, Lou, let's show everyone the powder room. Go on. Here we are in the powder room, and in a small space such as this, I love to use an all-over print. It adds a lot of charm, it's fun, you don't see it all the time so you don't get tired of it. So here I used Cypress Paisley from Howe in London for the wallpaper and the skirt sink and the shades. And then I also included in this room, I have a big collection of English engravings and silhouettes, and I add to them all the time. So that's where these are in this house. Also, this is a gentleman's shaving stand, which comes in handy in a tiny room like this, that there's really no cabinetry to keep all the things that come in handy in this room. So you have items at the ready. Now I'd love to take you upstairs to show you some of our rooms up there. On the stairs, I took the treehouse and leaf idea to a new level with this gorgeous wallpaper, which is trails of oak leaves from George Spencer Design. And fortunately, it did come in a greeny color. At the top of the stairs, I have this charming bookcase that actually someone in my neighborhood had thrown it away many years ago. So I brought it home, and I used a lot of ebony stain, and it looks wonderful. This is what's called a waterfall, the way the shelves are designed here. So our first room at the top of the stairs is our guest bedroom, and let me take you inside. And this room really reflects, I think, the most treehouse effect of all of the rooms, as you have the windows on the two sides and the beautiful trees outside. I made the window shades and the window seat from repurposed show house curtains that I brought with me, which I think they work really well in here. And I just want to talk about these tables. You know, this isn't a huge room, so these are custom tables from Fabulous Things in Richmond, Virginia. And I love the size of them, and they're very practical with this big drawer and also the shelf. So you can have a lot of storage there. And this armoire was from one of our neighbors in Los Angeles who was downsizing. And it was another one of those things where I told the movers, put it here, and it's been here ever since. So that has worked out really well. And the last thing I'll point out in this room is this chair. This was in our living room in Los Angeles, and I slip covered it in this charming Pierre Frey fabric that I thought would work well with the greens. It has some burgundy in it. It just has a lot of movement and makes this stolid old chair a little bit more lively. So I think that works well. Now we're coming into my favorite room in the house, our primary bedroom. And this is why we needed a very large room with very tall ceilings in the house that we purchased here. Suzanne gave me this bed when I helped her write her first book. It's from the 1980s. It's Colfax and Fowler from London. The fabric is fuchsia chintz, and I want to show you a few details here. The ruche top of the bed with the rosette is very special, and it's actually kind of a southern bed, if any of you are familiar with southern decorating over the years. And another touch is the trim fabric has these pinked edges that's done with a pinking machine. And I think it's something that would be fun to bring back. We won't call it a scallop, we'll call it a pinked edge. This table was my father's, and the chair, which is a great dressing table. And this bench was actually one of my mother's neighbors that I had recovered. This chair we've had for years. I reupholstered it. And this pillow is a piece of vintage Chelsea textiles that I bought on eBay many years ago. And my mother had it, and then I made it into a new pillow. This cute side table is actually from a junk shop, and we bought it and had copied it for tables made for the shop. And so it comes in very handy here. This sculpture, botanical sculpture, is by a woman named Carmen Almond. It's a French carnation. I happen to be a carnation lover, and it has to be, I think it's just about my favorite possession. And she is now, I believe, living part-time in New Orleans, where she has a gallery of her work, and her work is also featured at the Chinese Porcelain Gallery. I believe it's called in New York City. I love this room because we can enjoy just about everything that we've collected over the years, that you'll also see elements throughout our house. But obviously the bed is very special. And I should tell you that it has to come, we took it all apart and out our second story balcony to get it out of the room in Los Angeles and reassembled it here. So I think when you put a lot of effort into something, you should enjoy it. And I love the colors. And it just, you know, with the windows and the doors here, it's just a wonderful, comfortable place to be any time of day. And I must admit, when we first moved to this house, my husband and I thought we'd made some sort of terrible mistake given the daunting work that we had to do. But now we love this house, and I think home to me is a place that makes you happy every time you come home. Welcome to our primary bathroom. This room was the darkest, most depressing room in the entire house. I think the vision here, I could see elements, but I'm not quite sure what was done, why they did it, etc. But I won't dwell on that. It was, originally we didn't add any square footage. It was this huge room, kind of like a dance hall. And I wanted to bring again the green inside. And I've always loved this Faro and Ball wallpaper called A Park. So I thought this was the perfect place to use it. And once it went up, I think everyone was very happy with it. Then I have this little chair. I love a little bit of upholstery in a bathroom. This was in our daughter's bathroom in Los Angeles, and I had it reupholstered in a fabric called Bees by Sybil Colfax, which I think really complements the wallpaper. And again, it's very handy to get dressed, put your pajamas down, all that sort of thing. And then this was, we had no linen storage or really storage much of any kind in this house. So we used part of the space for a linen cupboard. I was willing to sacrifice some on the size of the bathtub to get this cupboard made in here. And I used the French way of the check curtains behind and the chicken wire on top, which I think really adds a fun decorative element to this room. Welcome to my husband's favorite room in the house, the front porch. And as you can see, they're extremely wide. We face north, so most of the time you're in the shade. And it's just a wonderful, welcoming place to be, to sit outside with a drink at the end of the day or your coffee in the morning. And he knows all the neighbors that walk their dogs up and down the street. And these rockers were one of our first purchases. We have 4 on this porch and 2 on the upstairs porch, which is also nice in the evening. We painted the ceiling of the porches the traditional southern color, which is haint blue, that is supposed to scare away flies and mosquitoes, as well as haints, which if you're not familiar, those are a type of ghost. So we seem to be very lucky so far. Home to me is a place that you love to come to at the end of the day, that welcomes you when you wake up in the morning and just makes you happy all the time. Homeworthy, it's been wonderful having you here in our home. I've enjoyed every minute, and until next time, goodbye.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.